Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Gift of Health Wellness Chat. I am Dr. Arjun Raipudi, and this is my lovely wife, Dr. Shobha Raipudi. We're both lifestyle medicine doctors and co founders of Gift of Health, where we help people to uh, make it easy for people to change their diet and lifestyle so that you can reverse chronic disease and get off medications and have more fun and energy in your life.
And today we are so excited to bring a very special guest. So, like when you think of talent and like I know, like we can say, like this person has so many accolades, but the thing is, he is amazing. He's he's a very dear friend to us. So like we are very happy to have Dr. Koushik Reddy. He's currently practicing as an interventional cardiologist in Tampa, Florida, US. And he is both certified in cardiology and in interventional cardiology, and also both certified in lifestyle medicine. Both him and his wife, they co-founded the Plant-Based Lifestyle Movement, which is a not-for-profit organization, and they're so passionate about selflessly educating the communities about having like healthy diet and lifestyle and how they can prevent and reverse diseases. So we are so excited to have him with us. And as I said, like rarely you would find a cardiologist who would actually ask you to pick carrots over stents. So,
Yes, that's one thing we love about Dr. Reddy. His tagline is, "Hey, you have a heart disease. I have carrot and stent. You pick." I think we should start there, Dr. Reddy. We're so happy to have you. Can you tell us how you came up with that tagline? Like you know,
Thank you. Absolutely. First, let me, just allow me a minute to thank Arjun and Shobha, for giving me an opportunity to speak here and have a more of a human dialogue. We chose to do it this way because we want to connect with the world. We want to connect with the fellow human beings as to how much of our current suffering, disease burden, a lot of our, physical, emotional, burdens are preventable for the most part. And I really admire the work the two of you are doing in Canada. And I'm happy and fortunate that our paths have crossed in a very short period of time of knowing each other. They are lot more than friends there. I see the way we communicate, the way we connect with each other. They're more of a brother and a sister to me, and happy and honored to be a part of your friendship and be linked to you. So that being said, one of the first thing I always do, one introductory remark. I work in Tampa at the VA hospital. I'm a full-time VA doctor. And in saying so, I am a public servant. I do this as a love of, just to love of labor of love is to get the message out to as many people as possible. Having said that, if there is a veteran out there listening to my message, I just want to thank you and your family for the sacrifices you have made. So that being said, going back to my tagline as to why. So it's an interesting story. So in 2017, I am attending my very first American College of Lifestyle Medicine meeting. A few weeks before that, I had not even heard of what this college is about. Somebody on social media, actually on Facebook, hey, you do all this work at the VA and you're passionate about this. How come you don't show up at this meeting? So I was at that meeting as a first time, just sitting there and trying to, wow, this is amazing. This is a medical meeting. I'm not used to this kind of medical meetings. So, and the way the college does these meetings is that every day we have a keynote speaker who gives a keynote message. So I believe it was day number 2 or day number 3. The keynote speaker was none other than the founder of Whole Foods, John Mackey. So John Mackey was speaking, eloquent, gifted speaker. But unbeknownst to me, I'm talking about John Mackey is going to talk about how to make food available. But John Mackey took upon criticizing interventional cardiologists. And he went on, some of it is, how a lot of elective angioplasties and stenting is being done inappropriately. And I'm looking at him, yeah, this guy's right, because I know the data. But it just didn't sit well with me that somebody at the podium is criticizing my line of work. So, and then, beautiful talk, very inspirational and insightful. And this is already after he made his big name, after selling Whole Foods to Amazon for whatever, tens of billions of dollars. And so then when during the Q&A section, I went up and I was admiring his talk and contributions. And then I was also trying to say that, look, you just can't paint the fascinating field of interventional cardiology with a brush, white brush, saying that everybody's greedy and doing this for just money. There's a lot of value in what we do. And then, yes, all cardiologists know that majority of this can be prevented. But then there are the likes of me, and I just didn't even rehearse it without even thinking. I just randomly said that to him, that then there are the likes of me who is going around any place that I could go, that I have a carrot and a stent, you pick. And then just literally, I got a few seconds of standing ovation from an audience of close to 1,100 people. And people came up to me, you should write a book with that title, you could patent it. I didn't do any of that. But now, if I were to be doing this lecture or discussion from my workplace at a hospital wearing a white coat, you would see that under my white coat, actually, I had it written on my coat. That, because to me, it's a metaphor that I use, just be honest with you. Carrots are not a replacement for a stent if you're having a heart attack, but it's more of a conversation starter, like exactly what we're doing here. Is that, like, I have a carrot or a stick type of a metaphor that mother used to use, that kind of stuff. So that's a kind of a long-winded answer as to how I ended up with the tagline, and I love it now. And then not only I love it, I live it. So I tell my patients, so much so that, like, it's funny now, from not from being an attendee in 2017 at the college. Now I'm the secretary, I'm the treasurer for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. That's been a humbling and an enlightening growth, to not knowing about the college in 17, now to be on the executive board. But the fun part is that now when I walk the hallways, well, not this year because of COVID, 2018 and 19, when I go there, when I walk the hallways, people literally go past me and say, "Hey, I'll take the carrot." So,
and that's so controversial. I would say, like, you have been trained in the traditional cardiology, and like none of this like was taught in our medical school, or
no,
forget about nutrition, even to think that like this is something that can be reversed. So like what made you like go into this arena of lifestyle medicine?
So if somebody told me that, maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, that I would be doing this so passionately, I would have laughed at them. I said, like, what the heck are you? Because I have the stent. I was a stent captain of my ship, right? And I loved what I do. I still do. I still, I did a bunch of them today, as a matter of fact, before I came home to do this talk. So what happened was that. That it's I want to say it was in July or August of 2015, and I did about 6 or 7 procedures at this very same hospitals. And on that day, and nothing unique, nothing different, the same risk factors, the same disease, the same pattern, nothing unique. And then as I sat down upstairs at my office, as I was getting ready to finalize the reports, and then I have no idea why. It's not like I came across something fascinatingly new in the reports, but somehow my mind drifted to ask a very simple, basic question. I said, look, all these guys that I did a procedure on and needed an intervention that day, some of them due to stable heart disease, which we will talk into through the course of this discussion, and some unstable coronary syndromes, but every single one of them needed a stent. And every single one of them had a perfect combination of what we call risk factors, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, smoking, and some, not to mention, grossly underappreciated factors such as psychosocial and social and the social, financial determinants of health. And I said, but we are an academic shop at a VA hospital, and one of the most prestigious VA hospitals in the country. And with all of our academic minds, residents, trainees, multiple teams, everybody watching every one of them, quote unquote, managing disease, if we are doing a good job of controlling all of this, why are such a vastly large number of patients are still ending up needing an intervention for the very disease that we are so diligently trying to prevent? And I never asked that question. I never really asked that, in that way of looking at it. But so that question, I'm sure a lot of people ask that question. And then I literally, emotionally and professionally, from a pride and, gratification point of view, I felt like I'm sinking that day. And because it hit me, like, I asked myself, I actually paused. I remember that day so vividly that I paused and I asked a question of myself. I say, hey, dude, did you get your entire practice wrong? and
so you literally woke up that day.
Well, it's funny you say that. I'll tell you exactly. I use the word wake up in a sense that I said to myself that, yes, you did get you. This is not how you treat patients. This is not. So the reason I connect this way, just so the non-medical, audience who are listening to our conversation here, three of us, Arjun, Shobha, and I, we went to medical school in India. We came here for training. But if someone were to go to complete American training to become an interventional cardiologist, it is 17 years of uninterrupted medical training after one finishes high school. Let that sink in for a second. Whoever complains about doctors making money, one, we don't make that much money compared to people who run the hospitals. One, that is literally, imagine you spend 17 years of just doing nothing but training. So one thing, the reason I'm putting it this way, I want the society, I want the non-medical people to connect with us as not some doctors lecturing to you, but people who happen to have MDs, MPH, and PhDs behind us, but also have a human connection that we never want to lose. So that way I'm telling you as a story, not as a lecture. So now, after those 17 years, and this is where I want to make a clear distinction, is what I found myself, by that time I had 11 years of experience, 17 years of training in medicine. When I asked that question, I found myself doing one thing and one thing only, but I was damn good at doing it, is managing disease. I found myself completely excluded from the arena of maintaining people's health. Right? When you come to me asking for extra 10 units of insulin, I will prescribe it to you, but I am not maintaining your health. I am managing your disease. When I add the fourth drug for blood pressure, I am managing your disease, not maintaining your health. When I shove a piece of metal into your heart extremely skillfully, without you even knowing that I'm doing it in the midst of you dying of a heart attack at 2 o'clock in the morning, I am managing your disease. I'm not maintaining your health. I'm saying it this way because I want the community, I want the country, and I want the world to know that so much so that I now sometimes challenge myself, and I challenge my students and colleagues, that did the art of medicine, did modern medicine become an art of prolonging suffering? Do the letters?
That's so powerful.
Yeah,
what you're saying is so powerful. I think people would be waking up. Like,
no, I really want to communicate passionately. That's why I don't have a slide presentation. Usually, this is the first time I'm actually doing this. Usually, I'm this usually data guy talking about statistics, slides, ratios, and that confuses a lot of people. And we said let's connect, and then. And sometimes I jokingly and not so jokingly challenge myself and my colleagues and the greater world of medicine. Are we heading to a path, if we are not already at a sad state, do the letters MD next to our name, does it mean now that you're a manager of disease?
Yeah. I saw other day and it was so funny. Yeah. It's so fitting as well. Like, most of the stuff that we're doing in hospitals and clinics is pretty much sickness care.
Like managing.
Yeah. And the sad part is that volumes of data exist, not just my philosophy. This is not some personal philosophy that I'm trying to shove my way of living or my way of eating onto others. But there is volumes of data that majority of the common chronic diseases that most of us are burdened with as society and as physicians should not even exist in 21st century. If it does exist, should not progress the way it is progressing and cause so much suffering. Question is, how much suffering? You guys are ready for this? How much suffering? So in medicine, we quantify this. We quantify this with using a metric called DALY. That means simple. It means disability adjusted loss of years. Meaning that we are living longer compared to 100 years ago. An average American in this country lives almost 40 years longer. But during that 40-year long time, an average person in this country, in the United States, is losing 24 years of his or her life to lack of quality. What does that mean? How do you perceive that, on your end? Meaning that, yes, I'm alive, but I'm hooked up to a dialysis machine due to two preventable diseases, high blood pressure and diabetes, right? Most common cause.
Yeah.
I am alive, but can't go for a walk with my grandchildren. I'm alive, but I'm missing out all cruise vacations because I am in a nursing home. So we are living longer and we are also dying longer. We don't have to paraphrase this in a very powerful way. One of somebody that I admire and respect quite a bit is the past president of American College of Cardiology, Kim Williams, said this. He said once that I am not afraid of dying. I just don't want it to be my fault. Right? Is that unreasonable thing to ask? And another thing that I want to challenge the audience here is this. Take a minute, because I never asked this question up until I got into this space of thinking, is ask a very simple question one day. Sit down with your family, and literally I'm really challenging, begging, and imploring the audience to do this one day. Sit down and ask and write it down on a piece of paper. One very simple question. Why do I want to be healthy? And that answer, put it on a fridge somewhere and let that you see that, and unless you're mindful of that as to what you want, you're not going to bring about the change that you're desiring because of three of us are giving you some lecture on a Zoom call, right? It has to come from within. To me, that is the most important concept of mindfulness. Yeah, mindfulness need not necessarily have to be, become a master yogi and, levitate. That could be another way of doing it. But the true mindfulness is, what are your reasons and are you acting on them, right? And how do you do that? So how about this? Very, very simple thing. In doing so, are we asking you to go home tomorrow and change drastically everything that you do about your life? And some people are capable of doing. I am not one of them. And most of us are not one of those people. Change happens gradually. How gradually, you ask? How gradually? How about this? Let's say no matter how bad your situation is, we're going to count it as one, not as a zero. Nobody is a zero. We're going to count it as one, no matter how bad your situation is. But you say, what, there's teeny little things I can still do. And we're going to call that teeny little thing 1/100th, meaning that 1%. So you're going to say, whatever that I desire, I'm going to be 1% better tomorrow than I am today. Just that's it. And if you keep on doing it, just 1% better tomorrow, be it my diet, be it my sleep, be it my exercise, be it my relationship with my family, be it my taking time to sit down, meditate, practice yoga, whatever you think is appropriate, but you stick to it. Guess what would happen, folks? At the end of one simple year, you will move from 1 to 37. That's a powerful law of small gains is. So that's all we should do. It is the teeny little thing, is to identify, be mindful what we can do. So that's what I do now. And this is, gives me the most joy and gratification, is to keep as many people away from the cardiac cath lab as possible, not because of a dogma that I believe in, but evidence-based medicine, using the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And in doing so, sometimes people still fall through the cracks and they will end up, but that should not be the primary modality of how we treat these diseases.
So, yes, so well said. And you have also given us the motivation, just change that 1%. So, as you have suggested to change that 1%, like our audience is interested to know what is that we can do, or what changes in.
Before we go to that, I just want to clarify one thing. Like, for people who are starting on the level, have no not much exposure to what lifestyle medicine. Could you just clarify two things, Koushik? Like, one is, you are a practicing interventional cardiologist.
Yes.
What percentage of the people you stent, like where you how you said it so beautifully that you insert these metals into their blood vessels even without their
Yeah.
knowing. So what percentage of those metal stents that you put in people's heart blood vessels, what percentage do you see is because of its poor diet and lifestyle, and how much of it is genetic, how much of it is self-induced?
Almost all of it, what I do, almost all of it, as shocking as well, almost all of what I see is self-induced. Now, how much of this is genetic? So, right. So, how about this? You can look this up. So, beautiful question, because it comes up, right? Arjun asked a question: how much of this is genetic? Right. So there's certain influences that are non-modifiable, quote unquote, that I can't change my gender. I can't change my genes. Really? How about this? How about this? Hear me out. I'll tell you a story and you can look this up. So 2017, the scene, I'm going to create a scene. So because I try to connect all my messages, I'm actually speaking to the group today as I actually do my discussions with my patients every Friday. So trust me, I perfected this, how to communicate this. And then there's another side of me who does this purely as a scientific geek, and when its audience is purely medical. So yeah, we're not doing that today. So I'll tell a story, and I want you to make whatever you want to make out of it, because what happens very frequently, including myself and our own family, we all have it. Let's not lie. We all have family members who suffered prematurely. Yeah, and then we have this notion that we built in and say, hey, you know what? This is a genetic curse. And then I have had my own patients who said, Doc, I hear you. I get your message, but the damn disease runs in my family. So this is a true story. There are actually American Heart Association videos on this. So the scene is 2017, October. And we are in the International American Heart Association meeting, right? And at the meeting, a man has a massive cardiac arrest. Almost dies on the floor of the American Heart Association meeting, gets cardiac chest compressions, gets airlifted. He almost died had it been not for the defibrillator technology, gets airlifted to a nearby hospital, gets 2 stents put into what we call in a non-medical term, the widowmaker artery, the left anterior descending. And that man was the incoming 47-year-old president of American Heart Association. Right, Dr. Warner. So brilliant mind, he's one of the thought leaders in the field. So the next day or 2 days later, and this is where the message is, you can just Google this, and he gave a message to the rest of the country and saying that, look, I may be paraphrasing this because I don't have the slide in front of me, but there are no old men on either side of my family. Everybody's life has been cut short by this genetic disease, and the onus is on all of you, which is us in the interventional cardiology community or the cardiology community, to find a solution for this. But here is this. So we already have the technology. We can now quantify a person's genetic risk, meaning that they're currently available, not at any routine hospital, but they're currently available research tools using mostly genetic testing and blood work that we can quantify. I can look at any one of your blood tests and say, hey, your genetic risk is low, intermediate, or high. Let's say my risk comes as high. And then I am freaking out. I don't want to die because so now what I said to myself, you know what, my genetic risk is high, but what I'm going to choose to do is that do very simple things. I'm never going to use tobacco products. I'm going to eat as healthy as possible, which is predominantly a plant-based diet, not exclusively as per their definition, right? And then I'm going to be very simple, like 15 to 20 minutes a day of walking, okay? And always maintain my BMI. Are you guys ready for this? Maintain my BMI is below 30. And Arjun is going, what the heck are you talking about?
You're being very generous.
I'm not making this up. These are the definitions of and what they concluded was that if you just do these 4 things, the data is so powerful that behind my desk at work is a huge teaching board. And before me getting into lifestyle medicine space, anytime you walk into, there used to be all kinds of physics and hemodynamic equations on it. Now there is a simple statement. Healthy living is the best form of revenge. Based on this paper, which showed that if you do these 4 things, even in the setting of a high genetic risk, that your lifetime risk of a stroke and heart attack can be lowered by 55 to 60%. So based on that, I came up with a theme called if our fate, if our health related fate is written in our DNA, as it relates to common chronic disease. I'm not talking about Down syndrome, cystic fibrosis, or single chromosome or single gene mutations. I'm talking about multiple genes and multiple, high blood pressure, diabetes, those kind of things. That fate is written in pencil, people. Our genetic fate is written in pencil, meaning that we have an opportunity to rewrite it. I'm going to say this again. We have an opportunity when it comes to common chronic diseases that most of us are suffering with. We do have an opportunity even to prevent from our genes from actually being expressed. So that's what a long-winded answer, but I just want to share these stories so people connect with the story.
Yes,
right?
Yes. Stories are so powerful, right? Like sometimes when we just give them information, hey, you do this, like information alone is not enough. Like we say, you need information, you need inspiration, right? You need to find ways how to inspire yourself, and you also need to implement. It's the information, inspiration, and implementation. What brings about the transformation that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could not agree more, because information is easy, but we all relate to stories, right? That's human experience. All of our human experience is stories. And that's why, every day, sometimes, that's why I'm always looking for, narratives from my patients that, oh, wow, I can take this, but I can, add a little to make it practical to other people. So yeah, but to directly answer your question, majority of my patients, I want to say almost over close to 80-90% of patients, even if they have genetic risk, then, what's the point in smoking if you have a genetic risk? Why would you gain weight, and why would you eat junk processed foods and on top of a genetic risk? So that kind of stuff. So majority of it is modifiable, even in the setting of high genetic risk. I keep repeating that, but it's a point worth repeating.
So that's great. Like, so we are saying that majority, like on the cardiac side, you're saying, and we feel the same. Like my work is mostly the gastroenterology, the GI, general surgery stuff, and I see the same. 80 to 90% of everything that I see is purely due to poor diet and lifestyle. Now, before we go into the sharing tips on what to do, could you just tell us to the share with our listeners, what is this lifestyle medicine? This many people actually haven't heard this lifestyle medicine, and what are the pillars of lifestyle medicine, and how can we do these things?
Yeah. So to just give you as to the pillars of lifestyle medicine, I actually when I actually do powers with PowerPoint slides and that kind of stuff, it's except for the concept of having to pay for our food, literally all other pillars are free.
So it's like a free medicine.
I mean, think about it, right? Again, yes, some of us struggle with some of these in terms of executing this or implementing this, but here are people think that these lifestyle medicine doctors, or these guys have some kind of a DVD that they're going to say. No, there's no magic here, people. They're very simple things, right? Getting up, putting a pair of sneakers and going for a walk, right? I'm talking like basics, and from there you want to become a marathon runner. But how about this? But most people are not even going for a walk.
That is so true.
Right. So number one is keep your body in motion, because a body in motion stays in motion. A body that stops will stop. Right? Apply Newton's law, right? Apply Newton's law to the human body. It's so that's one. The number two is sleep. Extremely important. So before in order of my priority, the way I see them, the first one that is so grossly underappreciated is social relationships. Especially, if I'm going to look in the eye of a fellow human being, I don't even want to address that as a patient. If I'm going to look in the eye of a fellow human being who is set in his or her ways because of various influences over a 50, 60, 70 years of lifespan, and then I walk in with lifestyle medicine, hey, I want you to change these 20 things. The guy's going to say, who the heck are you? Right? So, but to do that, we need to offer them support, because we are social beings. We all need support. So the concept of social relations, and we see this across all, there's this beautiful video by a TED speaker, and she lists these odds ratios in terms of an event happening, which one of the following has the best data on making people living longer. People say, oh, vegan diet, yoga. Say, no, the data is on social relationships. People who live with a sense of connectedness, people who live with a sense of purpose, people who live with a sense of meaningfulness, that their existence and their life brings them a sense of purpose and meaning, has actually outcomes data on health. And yet, as a society, we don't talk about it, right? So I call this the concept of declaration of dependency. Call it my own cultural bias, but coming from India, right, or even here, when I first came here, we grew up very dependent on each other. It's probably changing in India, but we grew up as a nuclear family, a nuclear village. Everybody knew each other. And, one of the downsides of it, everybody also was in your business. but that's what life is, right? Life.
I think it froze.
Right. So but when I came to America, and I still struggle this, how the Western world, I'm not saying it's negative or positive, there's this thing about, teaching about independence. I said, no, let's declare dependency. We need each other. We need to learn to lean on each other. So that's my pillar number one, is social influence, social determinants, support that we need, extreme important. The second one is non-compromisable. If you listen to this message and at the end of the day, you want to switch from a completely junk food diet to a 90% plant-based diet, not 100% plant-based like the three of us do, none of us are going to fight with you. For that, you will be phenomenally better with your health. But so in a way, so that is partly, negotiable. But what is not negotiable, and most doctors don't even know how to counsel for this, I didn't up until recently, is sleep. Because sleep is like time. It's gone forever. It's not coming back. So prioritize sleep. I cannot emphasize more, right? If you don't believe me as a cardiologist, what if I told you this stupid experiment that we conduct on ourselves in the Western Hemisphere of changing time every year? And when we lose that 1 hour of sleep in March, would you believe me if I told you that every single emergency room in this country, and as a matter of fact in the Western Hemisphere, for the next 2 days, there's a 22% increase in cardiovascular events. So please make sleep a priority. In terms of tips, what tips about sleep? 3 or 4 simple tips that are practical, right? Don't eat large meals for at least 4 to 6 hours before dinner. It sounds crazy. 4 to 6 hours, I'm watching TV and eating cereal at 11 o'clock. Don't do it. It's not good for you. 2, no caffeinated beverages and alcohol for 4 to 6 hours before sleep. And have a fixed time. Make it, even if you're struggling with it, make it, even if you're not sleeping, go to bed, turn the lights off, teach your body to go to bed. Sleep is non-negotiable. It is an evolutionarily programmed thing into our bodies and our mind that we shall sleep for 8 hours a day. We got to figure this out. And the third one is nutrition. And nutrition it's literally, think about it. It is literally something that is in our hands, especially those of us who are listening to this who have the luxury of living in a Western world, right? Even some of the poorest people in America have more access to food than a lot of people in the rest of the world, right? If you really want to get to that nitty-gritty details. So, but also here's another thing. For the first time in recorded human history, this is a sad situation. Joel Fuhrman calls this the fast food genocide. For the first time in recorded human history, in the Western world, it's the poor who are obese, right? Obesity used to be a disease of the affluent, starting as far back as the times of the Bible to the Roman emperors to the recent times. Only even in India, the kings were the only ones who were obese, not the peasants and workers. So, but now it flipped. So food is something that is literally in our hands, that you literally take with your hands and put into your body. So ask this question. So how do we connect mindfulness into this? So think of this. Why would you reluctantly take 4 medications for blood pressure and your doctor is telling you that he's going to go on a 5th medication or put a stent in your renal or kidney artery, right? Why would you do those 5 medications? Unless one of you tells me that you love taking 5 medications, right? We will give you more. These medications work. There's phenomenal data on them. They work. They are good stuff. But turns out that for the most part, high blood pressure can be just prevented and even lowered by just. So why would we do that? Take 4 medications with our left hand and eat a salty meal and junk processed food and gain weight through our left. If you do that, you're not being mindful. You're not. So then a guy like me comes and he's ready. Hey, I have a catheter and more pills. Which one you want? So don't allow me to step into your life in this way. So nutrition, I cannot emphasize more. So the goal number one, we talked about, to make those incremental stuff. So if you hear me speak, or if you join the program with Dr. Rai Puri's, it's there's you can completely switch to it, to the cleanest and healthiest way of doing. Right. But another way of doing it is cut out all the crap. Just stop eating processed food. Right? Just stop eating, eat real food. Like, just this. And also don't let the industry control your food. Everybody agrees, right? The nutrition is important. You don't have to be some PhD or a cardiologist to know this. If you think that nutrition is important, why are you allowing somebody to control it for you? Right? Something that is so important, why would you allow somebody else, some no-name company? Do you think that the company is going to come and hold your hands while you're having a heart attack or going on a dialysis? No, because we live in a society, especially in the Western world, probably so true all over the world now, where the food industry doesn't give a damn about your health, and the health industry doesn't give a damn about your food. Because if we did, we will never be allowing fast food and sugar-sweetened beverages and processed meats inside of a hospital. But we do. So we have to take ownership. So I cannot emphasize more. Nutrition is the key. Extremely, extremely important, and predominantly or exclusively a plant-based diet. And there's enough data to support that from a personal health point of view and from a planetary health point of view. And exercise. So exercise is just keep moving as much as you can. If you're wheelchair bound and you can't move anything, and if all that you can do is this, do that for 15 to 20 minutes. Whatever you can move. And another one is stress reduction. Right? And huge. It's so big that, would you believe me if I told you, in terms of having a heart attack, there are 2 things that we don't talk about in terms of having a heart attack risk, right? Is smoking a few cigarettes is identical to 2 other things, but we don't connect it that way. What are the 2 other things that put you at just about the same risk as smoking? One is social isolation. There's actually impressive data on this. So impressive that some of the United States government websites have a beautiful cartoon on this, showing that social isolation is equal to smoking 20 cigarettes a day of risk of having a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And the second one is living lives with stress, anger, and social hostility. They put our entire system at such a high inflammatory and a risky situation that they come close to the risk of actually you actively smoking in terms of having events. So that being said, unlike in the past, now there are so many resources to learn the concept of, call them YouTube videos, call them apps, or call, formally trained mentors like, these 2 doctors that I'm having a conversation with, Arjun and Shobha. They're formally trained mindfulness instructors. They're masters of mindfulness through their own experience, but through formal channels of, going to people who have done this. So extremely important. Stress reduction, I cannot emphasize more. So take that personal time on a daily basis. Make time, even if it's 5-10 minutes. Be selfish about this. So much so that you have to say this, that you are the most important person in your life, because if you don't exist, nothing matters. Right? If you're not there to hug your children, you may say, oh, my children are the most important things. I actually said this during a prayer with my kids last Sunday. The most important person in my, we have these things with our children, this called introspective hours. And we've been doing this since they were little. And then I told them, call me crazy, but the most important in this household is myself. Because if I don't take care of myself and I pluck myself out of the equation from this life, and then what's the point? So yeah, that's why even at the VA, we have this kind of a whole health program The emblem of the whole health program in the middle is not the doctor, it's not some, it's me. I am the most important person of this circle, and around me, and if every one of the things like that, not in a selfish way or a greedy way, but in a self-enhancing way, and all of us would be better, and people like me and Arjun and Shobha will go jobless and we'll find something else to do. And so that's it. And also avoiding tobacco. That's another pillar, avoiding tobacco and other toxic substances. And same thing with alcohol. Please, again, one thing I want to emphasize with alcohol is that if you drink it because you like drinking. Drink it because you're in the company of friends and family. Drink it because you already invested a few $1,000s in wine bottles from Italy that you're not ready to throw. But please do yourself a favor. Don't drink thinking that alcohol is good for you. Right? It is officially listed as a group 1 carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. And then you may say, moderation. What is moderation?
Moderation, the myth of moderation, yeah.
And if you do surveys in America and probably in Canada or mostly in the Western world, what percentage of these, not some teenage, fraternity boys, these are 60-year-old men in this country are admitting to binge drinking at least once a month. A large number, I'm blanking out on the actual percentage, but so then how do you define moderation? So psychologists went on doing a research of surveying human behavior, not just with alcohol, but many things. We say, hey, moderation of that, moderation of this, moderation of this. And then before you know, drop becomes an ocean and you're drowning, right? So they concluded that moderation is something, whatever makes you happy. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. So how
it's such an arbitrary word, isn't it?
Yes.
Moderation. When you say moderation,
yeah.
like, for some people, having one drink is moderation. For some people, like having 5 drinks is moderation.
Yeah. So I never drank much, but I used to drink when I was in company. I drank whatever I needed to drink, but I stopped alcohol completely. It's been almost 2.5 years. I haven't had a drop, and it just didn't. I don't care for it anymore. But it also depends on what spectrum. If you truly feel that it's in your control, and but again, our guidelines are to minimize as much as you can. And again, if you're not willing to make any dietary changes based on our discussion today or any discussions, is there one thing, one little thing that you can make a change is please stop processed meats. Please stop all processed foods, especially processed meats. I have a hard time using the word processed and food at the same time. I cringe. It's not food. It's there's a nice acronym. I don't know who made this, but there's a beautiful acronym called CRAP, C-R-A.
It's our friend Jeff Novick.
Yes, Jeff made this.
Jeff, yeah.
So it's calorie rich and processed crap. It
crap,
is.
Yeah. Cut the crap.
But just so so that way, I want to also give a personal connection as to how to look at this at an individual level and also as a broader level, at least for the United States, and probably true, maybe not as bad for Canada. So I came to America from India in 1995, September 23rd. So then in hindsight, when I look back to 1995, say, wait, what were the obesity statistics in America in 1995? It turns out, believe it or not, in 1995, right, there was not a single state in this country where the obesity rate was more than 20%. Every single state had obesity rates less than 20% in 1995. 2020, there is not a single state with obesity rate less than 20%. So how did such an advanced country with all these resources, all these education systems, top of the universities, how did we become like this? How did this country become from less than 20% to complete opposite in less than 1 generation? And the way it happened is that we as a society perfected the art of what is actually wrong with us. And we also started rewarding ourselves with what is actually wrong with us, is to make available, right? You can go to you don't even have to go to a fancy restaurant. You can go to a gas station mart, which, by the way, Canadians, if you're listening, you may find this shocking. We actually sell alcohol in a gas station. Right?
Here too. Yeah. You can get alcohol at gas station too.
In Canada, you can?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you guys can't. Oh, wow. Okay. But anyway, so you can go to a gas station. You can go to any nearby gas station for under $25. You can buy 3,000, close to 3,000 calories of processed crap. And as a consequence of that, it's just horrible in terms of the disease burden. And now it is trickling into our children, right? If you really look at the disease burden in American children, and same again, I have an entire lecture that I'm doing for Indian Society of Lifestyle Medicine on the 13th of this month and next week. And I collected a lot of data on the obesity rates in India. Again, if people are listening from India, again, this notion that, we are vegetarians and somehow the, yogis and then some, mindfulness gurus, it's all gone, guys. It's all time of the past. Okay. And let's look at what it is now. India is the world's capital of diabetes. India is the world capital of male erectile sexual dysfunction. India is now the country that is on the highest percentage of all type of cancers coming up, right? And an Indian is now dying of a heart attack almost 10 to 15 years sooner than the rest of the world's population combined, if you look at the statistics. So this notion that Indian vegetarian, people ask me, again, I'm kind of tailoring this. I'm sure there are some folks, from India watching this.
Oh, that actually, I see some comments like there are many comments here as well. They're loving it. They're loving the advice on like what you said on stress, social isolation. Yeah, it's a lot of.
So the thing about India is this: it's just I actually did an entire talk and said, Mother India, you need help. Right. Look, this thing that to get better, first we have to accept that there is a problem. Like I did, and I'm not saying this from a high pedestal lecturing. I literally sat at my desk and I said, "Hey, dude, you got your practice wrong." And for asking that question, I'm a better person and I'm a better doctor today. And then I would like to be a better human by just doing some selfless public service by getting these type of very simple messages to everybody.
You covered a lot of ground there, like and it's so much of opportunity for each one of us to turn our health around, and
absolutely.
and sometimes we don't fully understand the power of the choices that we make for breakfast, lunch, supper, what we do with our evening time, like whether we sit down to watch some Netflix and binge watch and binge eat chips, or just go out for a walk. These things make more impact on our health than the medications or even surgeries or stents.
Hey, listen, look, if this is not some crazy vegetarians and vegans talking to you about the cult that we belong to. How about this? The 2019, 2020, the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association dietary guidelines, except for small portions of fish, they clearly support a predominantly or exclusively a plant-based diet. It's not necessarily, and it's a medical guidelines. And yet, when we talk about this, you guys are, vegan cult. You're trying to push your religion and your agenda onto us. I said, no, right? This is evidence-based. Science supports it. And also the question is quality of life. And I'll give you examples, in terms of, so you can connect with this. And 3 of these examples we are actually getting ready to publish as case reports and actually abstracts at the next American College of Cardiology national meeting. So I have had a patient who attended our 6-week program at the VA hospital. And we do this for free because it's a VA hospital. And we love doing it. And this man is, believe it or not, he's 62 years old and he's a type 1 diabetic. He's a type 1 diabetic, has already had heart attacks, stents, a bypass operation, right? And has a defibrillator. And at that stage, a lot of people say, hey, it's irreversible. Too much damage has already been done. What's the point? But somehow his cardiologist, who is a partner of mine, saw the value. Hey, you know what? You could still benefit. So go to Koushik's class. Just hear him out for the first session. If you see the value in it, sign up for the 6-week program. So, and he did. And he came. He just graduated the 6-week cohort. And if you look at his every single risk parameter, be it his cholesterol, be it his blood pressure, be it his insulin requirement through an insulin pump, is the best. And he's been with the VA hospital for 22 years. And that's the beauty. We have one click, the entire data comes up in one screen. It's the best it's ever been in 22 years. So if somebody could accomplish that with so many limitations, physical, emotional, disease burden, polypharmacy, if somebody can, put it all together that way, right? How about this? There's another gentleman. So I'm I'm giving you extremes of examples to see if people can do this. So there's another guy who came to my class because he was having daily angina. So they told him to come to the heart camp. So I met him and I said, look, I reviewed all of your films done at the Tampa VA and multiple other VAs, and there is really not much I can do. I can really, and this is the word I offered him. It's not like I'm compromising your medical care. All of your medical care is already up to the top best of medical care. And the word I used with him was that on top of that, only thing I can offer you, and I took my phone, I even till this day, even at lunch, I take a picture of every single one of my meal so I can show it to my patients. So I said, only thing I can offer you is my plate of food. Are you open to this? And he and his wife laughed at me. They literally laughed at me. What the heck are you talking about? We came to you thinking that you are an expert in this. And I said, I am. And so, and I said, look, I can't do this in the hallways of the hospital, but come to one of my classes. And he came to the class in middle of last year, 2019. And then he went back to, upstate New York. A lot of, we call the snowbirds. So, and then he lives on Social Security. He lives in a motor home, very limited income. But he somehow channeled all of his energy into one thing and one thing only, is to eat right. So from not being able to walk from the parking lot to my office, this man, we're actually publishing this case soon, this man now rides his bicycle for 10 miles every day.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Except for a baby aspirin and a low-dose cholesterol lowering medication, he's off of every single medication he'd been on for 20 years. So the reason I'm sharing these stories is that the preventive power of the combination, mindfulness, stress reduction, not smoking, eating healthy, all of this, if somebody can pull somebody out from that extremes of disease, imagine what is possible if we pay attention upfront.
That is so powerful, right? The stuff that you're sharing. Like, one thing, what people find it is, some of the things that we're talking about, they find it hard to change, right? And you, in your program, and that's what we are also doing with our programs, is, hey, we can make this process easy for you. Like, because changing diet and lifestyle is hard, but sometimes when you have a coach or a guide, when you have a support group who are surrounding yourselves with people like who are on the same path, all the stories that you're sharing, Dr. Reddy, these are just so amazing. And we have heard these stories again and again. Like, every 6 weeks we start a program and we get the, like, people changing their diet and lifestyle and coming off of their medications and reversing chronic diseases. It is so exciting, and it never gets old.
And like,
oh yeah. So one of the things that I just want to, kind of word of caution too. But again, if you want to change this, please, do this with the guidance of an expert, because especially those of you who already are burdened with cardiovascular disease, right? Just don't listen to some health guru on YouTube and stop taking your statin. And just work with your local area expert. Look up. Now we have databases. You can go to American College of Lifestyle Medicine, or doctors who are formally trained, who have experience in guiding you to undoing a lifetime worth of habits. And you need support. You need support in your house. You need support in the medical community. And the doctors like us who are believing in this, that a lot of these diseases that we treat to make a living are preventable, and that community is growing. And that's why we are doing these discussions, to get the word out, to show the world, hey guys, we are here. We used to be wounded healers at one point in time. We hurt ourselves by doing this. And but now we want to connect with the community, and towards that goal, what we are also doing here in Tampa, I just want to plug this in. So if anybody is here from local, Florida is listening, one big question is, look at the way we met, Arjun and I and Shobha, we met is that through a medical organization. And the first time we met was only last October.
Yes, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine.
When you go there, it's usually like-minded individuals who are, in our own little echo chamber, talking about all the good stuff, eating, very healthy food. And it's easy to conform while you're there. Oh, wow, we are changing the world. But when you come between my house and my hospital, I got to go through, God knows, close to 50 fast food restaurants. And then I park my car. By the time I go to the cardiac cath lab, I got to go past a pizza station, a cheeseburger station, and a French fry station inside of a hospital. So my question is that, am I going to fight with this entire system? And the answer is no. But how do we do it? But the question I asked was, who is taking this message to the community where it actually matters? Who is talking to, our firefighters, right? Our first responders? Just the stress alone that they put up with to make our lives easy, right? Who is talking to them about lifestyle modification? Who is talking to a precinct? Who is talking to a public school? Who is talking at a church? So we founded a nonprofit organization to do that. It's just to take the word to the community, partnering with community leaders, local community leaders, and just look us up. And if there's anything that you can help to support us, we would appreciate that. It's called pblm.org, plant-based lifestyle movement. And we have a few physicians. It's a fun stuff. And so this we really have to flip the pyramid, all of us as a society, because the current pyramid is sitting like this. Pyramids have to be built like this, where the foundation of health is, how about this? Shocking, health itself. Right? But we don't do that. All of our paradigm in America is treating disease. We have to do our share to forcefully lend a hand to flip that pyramid, where the foundation of healthcare is health itself.
That is so powerful, the way you summarized it. Dr. Reddy, we have a couple of questions from the listeners and the audience.
Sure,
If you
sure.
could, yeah. So one person is saying that they're starting with a cholesterol of 335, and they're going on a plant-based diet. And how long does it take, in your experience, with they're trying whole food plant-based without oil? How long does it take typically for the cholesterol numbers to go down?
Yeah. So usually, cholesterol of 335, again, please check with your doctor and to make sure, those numbers, usually if somebody tells me cholesterol in the 300, 335 numbers, and I'm, if I were to take a guess and say your LDL is in the 180, 190, kind of 200 range, think of the possibility of what's called as a familial hyperlipidemia. And even those, by, again, by sheer weight loss, and you're it's going to drop. But usually, in my experience, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to see a good, meaningful change. And I've seen some patients happen in a matter of 4 weeks. But usually, having counseled close to, in my practice through lifestyle medicine practice, close to 700 veterans now, it usually happens somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks. And if it doesn't happen, please, I just want to caution everybody, there are certain types, which is not very uncommon. There are certain types of cholesterol disorders that may not respond to a completely plant-based diet. They may not respond adequately to a completely plant-based diet. So please, if you are on a plant-based diet and you're enjoying it and you're seeking all the other benefits, but there's a genetic component of your cholesterol that has went from 330 to 230. It's a huge gain, but still spending the rest of your life at 230 with the best plant-based diet, that's where we want you to not get into some kind of a fixated dogma. That's when you need to consult a specialist. That's where you need to consult, if you're in Canada, to talk to somebody like Arjun and Shobha. So they'll guide you, and then the combination of medical therapy and the best possible lifestyle, and for that you're better. But so that's extremely important, because I see this very frequently in the plant-based community, that for lack of better ways of putting, is my way or highway. It shouldn't be that way, because we still have to look at where the patient is. Yes, plant-based diet is good for, God knows, head to toe for a lot of things, but you're going to come across situations. So I'm giving that answer because 335 is high. Yeah, I start on a plant-based diet, stick to it. When you say plant-based diet, fiber, loads of fiber. That's what's literally, it's almost like I tell people, it's like fiber is going to behave in such a way, because there's so much data. It's almost like it's going to drag cholesterol out of your body, but that's exactly not what it does. But for a lay person, I kind of connect that way, and do that for 6 to 8 weeks, have the labs checked. and make an informed decision. Involve your healthcare workers. Please don't do this because you watched a YouTube guru. Don't do that. Please involve real people who are involved in your health, who have expertise, who have training, and then take it from there.
That's so succinctly said. Thank you so much. There is another question. Do you, in your practice, do you recommend any supplements, specific supplements for cardiac patients?
So supplement market in the Western world is so huge, and unless you are deficient in a nutrient, or unless you decide to go 100%, completely 100% plant-based, like the three of us are, majority of the time, the only supplement that you actually need is B12. Yeah, and maybe in some cases vitamin D. That's also, it's, there's a, it's for, so that's why I don't remember where I read this, but it's a really cool way of saying, for the most part, routinely going to the GNC and the health food store and popping 4 or 7 vitamin pills, it serves only one purpose. You know what that is? It helps you make very expensive urine.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. So yeah. So my advice to you is that, pay attention. If you want to pay attention to 2 things, is vitamin D and B12 on a plant-based diet. And B12, again, based on this discussion or any discussion, should you choose to go completely plant-based, do not neglect this. I cannot emphasize more. Consult with your doctor, start taking the supplement, and it's very inexpensive. You can go to Costco, Sam's Club, you can pretty much buy entire year's worth of B12 for less than $20-$30. Don't risk it. And this thing that, people are telling you can, ancient humans ate plant, vitamin B12 from soil contamination. It doesn't matter what ancients did. We are here, we are now, we are making a decision. Like, why would you make a decision in 20th century what the Paleolithic man did? Paleolithic man died at age 19, 20, right? So B12, please, that's the only supplement. There's a beautiful cardiology paper that came out, I want to say 2-3 months ago, that looked at all the supplementation, including vitamin D. Just take your shirt off and go for a walk. One, if you're deficient, expose yourself to more sun, which is now becoming very difficult, especially in northern latitudes. It's very difficult. So expose yourself to sun as much as you can. And if you're light skinned, make sure that you apply something to prevent long-term risk of cancers. But those are the only 2, unless, doctor, do you guys have any different recommendations, or is that what you also say in your practice?
No, pretty much the same. Like, if you're going exclusively plant-based, vitamin B12, otherwise for vitamin D, we say only if you're deficient, take it. Otherwise, just
Good. Yeah. There's no need for routine supplementation. Just waste your money.
No routine supplementation. Yeah. This one?
Yeah, we have 2 more questions.
Yeah. So one question is like, this person has a strong family history of heart disease. Grandfather, uncle had heart attacks. The dad and brother had open heart surgeries. 4 cousins died in their 50s from heart disease. Now, one of the family member had a stent 10 years ago. And this family member went whole food plant-based, but unfortunately he required another stent a year ago. So they're really concerned. They followed the books of Ornish, Campbell, Barnard, Dr. McDougall, all the legends in the plant-based world. He was using elliptical machine, lifting weights, but still he ended up having stents. So the question is, they're very concerned. Is there anything else they can do, or what was a missing link? Or
so in patients like that, you already, he himself also, in addition to the family history as to what happened in the past, the patient himself declared already that he has premature coronary disease, right? Needing initial stent and a subsequent stent. So patients like this, it's amazing that he actually, saw the value in changing the diet and the lifestyle. While doing that, please, my advice to you is learn 2 things. One, do not compromise any of the contemporary medical therapies, right? There is actually, I shall not name this person. There is a very, 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 very influential person in the plant-based community who exactly went through all of this. Very influential person within the plant-based community, but he is not a physician, but he was influenced by all of our discussions, so the same books and the same, the senior legends, be it Dr. Esselstyn and Ornish, but he subsequently had multiple heart attacks, not one. So one of the things that, just like, if you were to flip to understand this a little better, if you were to flip the coin and see, not everybody who smokes gets lung cancer, right? So similarly, not everybody eats the healthiest way of eating, and the 100% plant-based diet and a clean, healthy lifestyle, it does not guarantee complete reduction, zero reduction in events. It will significantly lowers it. So in medicine, we call this the risk factors, including the genetic risk factors, have a stochastic effect, not a deterministic effect, meaning that in biology, unfortunately, 1 + 1 is not always 2. Biology is complex, and then despite all these advances, in terms of when we hear stories like this, hey, this guy's a vegan marathoner, but he had a stroke and died of a heart attack at 45. How? But those are what we call, I always tell my students that life happens under a bell curve. So they're always, that's the nature of biology. That's the nature of, biology as an exception compared to, mathematical and physics or chemistry type of sciences, is that there are so many exceptions to this. Another question is that if that person who's asking a question, if he's of Indian ancestry, right? Why, if that person is Indian and is to look at lipoprotein little a, right? It's a special thing that you can have your cardiologist check. Not that there is any medication for it as of now, but we are actually doing a research in this. So those are the kind of things. Are there any other risk factors and blood tests that we don't routinely test? But even if you test it, there's really no new medication that we can put you on, because you're already doing the best you can with your diet. I'm assuming that you're taking all the medication that your cardiologist asks you to take without compromising. And despite all of that, if your events are still happening, and there are certain things in biology that we just don't understand quite yet. I'm just being honest, because it is humbling. I see this type all the time, and then I'm scratching my head, and then it's humbling that it's just the complexity of biology. But I'm sorry to hear that, but these do happen.
Yeah. So to answer your question, they're from Western. Like you were asking whether they had the Indian ancestry.
No, they're from Canada.
Yeah.
So this one, this may be, I'm not sure it's going to straightforward, or like, can a diet change, repair, diet change in diet, can it help with the leaking heart valves?
No, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have a leaky heart valve, you and depending on how leaky it is, you need to have the either valve repair or replaced. Yeah, structural defects with the heart, valve calcifications, valve stenosis, valve damage, leaking. Yeah, if anybody's telling you that my kale smoothie is going to cure it, fire that person. Don't let that person come close to you, please. They're doing more. And I'm the guy who's living off of kale all the time, but you have to be honest. You have to be honest, and you have to be open to the ever evolving field of science. And then, but this is the bedrock. This is the thing with lifestyle medicine and the concepts of eating this way. This is the foundation. This is the bedrock of everything we do on a continuum of completely disease-free to the most advanced disease, but you never lose sight of that. So
there's another question, like how long does it take to reverse plaque forming in our arteries?
On a plant-based eating.
Oh yeah. So people ask me all this question all the time. One of the things I really, really want to say this is that for the purposes of the community. So let's say you have heart disease, and that heart disease will show up in one of three ways. One, you never knew who you had it, and the first time it is manifesting in your body is that you wake up, you clench your chest, and before you reach the phone, you're dead. Right? And unfortunately, it is still one of the most common ways of manifestation. So is sudden cardiac death. That you never had symptoms. You're coaching your little league and you're running on the soccer field up until a week ago, and then you died in the middle of the night without you or your spouse even having a chance. So that is one way. The second way heart disease will show up in your body is that what is called as stable ischemic heart disease. Stable disease meaning that compared to last year, now when you walk the dog, when you pick the mail, you're clenching your chest, you're breaking in a sweat. Stable ischemic heart disease. Those are the ones that are extremely responsive to lifestyle modification and dietary modifications. right? And also depends on the pumping capacity of the heart and where the location of the blood. There are a lot of little complexities to it, but as a general, stable ischemic heart disease in majority of the patients can be managed with a combination of medications and lifestyle. So when we do that, that you change to a completely plant-based diet and you're taking a baby aspirin, you're taking a little bit of cholesterol medications, all the numbers are perfect. And from not being able to walk your dog down the street, let's say now you're running half marathons or you're walking 10 miles. Why would you worry about plaque reversal? Right?
It comes up again and again. Yeah. No, the quality of life is improving, but you want to, I mean, your body is telling you that you're feeling better, but you want to see something on a paper.
Yeah. So to show you that your plaque is reversing, either I have to expose you to radiation or invade you with a catheter. And what is it going to serve? What if I told you the plaque did not disappear? Right? Are you going to stop walking? Are you going to stop taking your plant-based diet? So this concept of plaque reversal, coronary artery disease reversal has, unfortunately, it caused a lot of confusion, in the community. The medical community knows what we're talking about. But for a lay person, this notion that, I eat a certain way that my heart disease is going to reverse completely as if nothing ever happened, that is not true. What is going to improve is that your functional capacity, more important, well, equally important, is that your long-term risk of having an event, a clinical event that is going to take away life from you, heart attacks, strokes, a lot of entire vascular trees. So that's what we should focus on. So again, goes back to the very first thing that I all ask you to do is, I asked you, why do you want to be healthy? Come talk to me when you write down the answer, I want to be healthy because I want to reverse my plaque by Dr. Reddy's angiogram. When you have that as an answer, I will explain it to you more. Right? That is never your answer. Who would ever answer when I ask them, why would you want to be healthy? I want to be healthy because I want my coronary angiogram to look beautiful. So please, America and the world, stop getting this social fixation. This is for the society. Let us geeks in the cath lab figure that out. Then we will translate it to you. But from a community point of view, please don't focus on this reversal of heart disease. Not worth it. Just focus on quality of life and functional capacity. That's it. So
that's so well said. Thank you so much. They're thanking you for your answers. We have one more question. Like for a person who is 43 and who does regular exercise, like 1 hour of walking every day, if the resting heart rate is at 98, what further investigation should they ask the doctor?
resting heart rate at 98 is for a 43-year-old man, just again, not knowing anything about the history, is little too fast. So there is a condition called inappropriate sinus tachycardia, meaning that just without doing anything, your heart rate is slightly close to 100 or slightly over 100. Right. So again, so that's something that you should really consult a cardiologist. Again, for a 43-year-old man who I'm hearing that is an athlete who exercises on a regular basis, a resting heart rate of 98 should be evaluated by a trained cardiologist to see exact, because there are some conditions called inappropriate sinus, because the rhythm itself is normal, but it's quote unquote inappropriate to be that fast while you're resting. Right. So, yeah. So it should be, so we should evaluate in detail. Yeah.
Well, Koushik, that comes to the end of our questions. There's still like comments coming up, like how everyone is enjoying your talk, and it's there. People are inspired. We are so thankful that you took time to share your passion, your wisdom, and all this time. Thank you.
Like you came home from a busy day of work and you chose to like converse and like educate people. Thank you so much for your time.
No, absolutely. Conversation, believe it or not, folks, I honestly, I truly am speaking this. When I do this is therapy for me. So I have my I feel like it's, wow, this is why we are here. This is why that selflessly to share in a meaningful and a practical way with a fellow ordinary, just a day-to-day human being. And for that, if even one person does something, let's say there are 100 people listening to us today, even if one person decides to do something meaningful and he or she ends up never having a heart attack, to me, that gives me more joy than the most complex stent procedures that I'm going to do tomorrow. Okay, so don't meet me there, please. I mean, cardiac cath lab is, I'm as good as I am, as experienced as I am. I know as how many students have trained in doing this. Don't meet me laying half naked on the cath table and a stranger shoving a piece of metal into your heart is not the way to live your lives. Okay, and a lot of that can be prevented. A lot of look, I always, I actually made a meme. I don't know if I actually put, just one day I was just thinking of something. I said, oh, I got to make something. So I said, I'm going to teach myself how to make memes. So I made a meme. So what I'm going to say about him, I'm going to say about myself. So I said, so I made a meme. It's on my Facebook somewhere. I said, why meet me in the cath lab when you, why get ill in my cath lab when you can get well in your kitchen?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So think about that. So, yeah. So, but anyway, again, thank you for the opportunity, and keep up the good work, and also for everybody else, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay safe, and COVID is still is ugly all over the world, but again, best to you, your families, and again, in health, we sign off, I guess.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.